Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Today we're going to have a look at the Roadside Swale, see what mulching I've been doing and see that there's still plenty more of that to do. We're also going to catch up with some plantings that I've done recently and just generally have a look and see how everything's growing. So we're just going to start at the northern end of the swale, which is the end closest to the dam, where I've recently stuck in some gooseberry sticks. Now, I wasn't sure how these would go, but they seem to be going great. Most of my sticks have got some leaves coming on them. Some have even got flowers coming on them. I have lost quite a few in amongst all the grass growth, but I have been doing a bit of mulching to help identify them. I've also put some marking sticks on some of them, which are sort of particularly hard to spot. But in general, they're growing really well. The gooseberries go up to about here, and then we start with the red currant plantings, which are going quite well also. I've been around and mulched a lot of those plants as well because again they get lost in all the growth, particularly in spring when everything is growing so fast. And it's really hard to identify some of these tiny little plants, but I'm trying to nurture them into life, and the mulch will help with the soil development as well as just sort of identifying where they are. The trouble is getting these little plants established amongst all this growth. It's really hard to spot the little plant in there. There's actually a rhubarb hiding in there as well, so I've got to get in there and do some mulching around these plants. They must have been missed the other day when I was out and about. Now, before we head too far along the swale, along that eastern edge, I thought we'd start back at the northern edge and go right through the middle of the swale for a bit. Now, right at the end of the swale, I had just dumped this tub, which I mostly use for all my animals in summer. They don't need so much of a big watering tub during the cooler months, but I did have it here and it killed off all the grass. So what I've done, I've planted some pumpkin seeds into this, just with a layer of old hay over the top, and I'll see how they go there. And I've moved the tub up a little bit further. Just under it, it's beginning to kill off the grasses here again, and I'm just going to make the most of that as a little growing space, and I might get some ground covers or something else established there. In one of my recent videos, I showed mulching tagasaste trees. Now, I have been through on this swale and cut the trees. I haven't dealt with the mulch properly as yet, but I've got to get through and do it. I felt the important thing at this time of year is to get the trees cut so they can go into recovery mode before the hot weather and the dry conditions come. So you could see with the gooseberries and the red currants, I've chopped up a bit and put it around those little plants, but I have just kind of chopped it up and dumped it down because I do want to create good soil all around this swale so I can establish ground covers and more of these beautiful flowers everywhere. I have got quite a bit of woody mulch already around my plum trees, so I wasn't worried about adding too much to them. But this is my beautiful Satsuma plum, which was in flower recently and looking lovely once again. And it's already got these gorgeous little plums coming on it. Last year we had a bumper crop, and it's looking like it'll be a good season again this year. Moving along the swale a little bit, I have my second plum tree here, which is a Mariposa. And once again, like the Satsuma, it's looking pretty healthy and has got lots of fruit coming on it already. And like my Satsuma plum, it has a lot of organic matter and the wood trimmings down below it, so I haven't used the tagasaste. This is the rhododendron that I moved from my backyard that I still have to chop further. So in summer I like all the mulch sort of closer to the ground so it does retain moisture better and it doesn't dry out and become a fire hazard. Looking into the swale itself from the berm, you can see that the water level has gone down from winter, We did just have a little bit of rain last night, so there is a little bit of water sneaking along the swale. But basically, the base of the swale doesn't have a lot of growth on it. My ducks do get along there in the water and keep digging up the bottom, so it's a bit hard for plants to really get established with the duck pressure and the water on it a lot of the year. But the reeds are establishing well. Slowly this section is getting more growth, and over the coming years it will start to develop a bit of a reed system more like the other end of the swale. Now moving past my plum tree, along here, this is where I've dumped quite a bit of my tagasaste. I've still got to chop that and put it carefully around some of the smaller plantings here, but it's on my list of things to do, so I'll get to it fairly soon. Now also in this area we've got some more of the red currant plants that are up on the higher side of the berm. If these sticks weren't here, you would really lose these little plants. The red currant leaf looks very similar to the weedy buttercup, so you kind of could easily mistake that for one of the weeds and not one of the plants, and chop it down if you're not careful. And again, hiding between this stick and my rhubarb plant is another little red currant that needs a good mulching. And almost getting lost in this area already is my little planting of black currants. They're still just coming out. They're quite behind the gooseberries and the red currants. Hopefully they'll start to grow this season and get a bit more bulk to them so they don't get lost as easily. Now I find the key to planting in areas which are still overrun with grasses is to plant your plants at fairly even spacing so that you can kind of predict where a plant should be. Right here I've got a black currant there, and I can see a little black currant here. Now my spacing's usually about this far, so in amongst here there should be another plant. So what I usually do is just keep trying to find it before getting in a weed trimmer to really kind of go to town on the weeds. And there it is. Hard to spot, but if you've got your spacings sort of fairly even and you know the number of plants in an area, it makes it a lot harder to lose your plants and chop them off with your weed eater. You can see on this side also I've got a little black currant plant there, and I know I've got one there. The next one I can see is just over here. So my prediction is I've still got a plant in this area here somewhere. Now, it should really be halfway between those little plants. Ah, and there it is. If I've lost them and then found them again, I do try to pull some mulch and identify them just until I can come back and really put in a stake or get some woodier mulch around the little plant. So that's my little black currant plants, which are just slowly coming to life. Also coming to life is this pomegranate. It's got beautiful crimson little leaves, and there are a few flowers coming on it, not many. So far I've had it in for 3 years, and it's flowered but not fruited. So I don't know whether the plant isn't big enough or the climate isn't hot enough for making pomegranate fruit, but time will tell with this little plant. It's quite a lovely little shrub regardless. So I've got another tagasaste here that I've harvested and still to deal with all the biomass that I've cut off it. Right here is my cherry tree. I pruned it for the first time last season, and I'm not expert at pruning, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't know whether I'll get any flowers off it. This tree actually hasn't fruited at all. It's been in the ground for 3 years, and I might read up a little bit more on pruning before I do anything to it at the end of this season. But it's got lots of lovely growth coming on it, and time will tell if any flowers come, but I would have thought they'd be here by now. So I think the flowers might come on last year's growth, which I might have chopped off. So I've really given it a bit of a challenge to get any fruit happening, but I'm just looking to create a good healthy tree that will produce for years to come. Right next to my plum tree is another of my support species, which is a Robinia pseudoacacia freesia. It's just coming out into leaf at the moment, and it does have a beautiful white flower, which will be here shortly. It's a nitrogen fixing plant, good for biomass. I love it for the bees, and it's just a nice contrasting leaf colour, which looks great out here in my swale. I've got a few calendula flowers dotted in around the swale, but they do find it fairly challenging to get a start in amongst all this grass. This is my fourth and final tagasaste tree that I've trimmed. Still got to pull down some of the branches that are still hiding in this tree, but most of it is waiting to be chopped up and put it around little plants like this one here. This here is an Indigo Fera australis, which has a beautiful purple flower on it. Now, I have some Indigo Fera in another spot which kept getting affected by frost, but now that a tagasaste in that area is growing over the top of it, it seems to be doing quite well. So this tree has been chopped now and doesn't offer this little plant much protection, but we're past the risk of frost at the moment. So this will grow all summer, and by the time winter comes again, we should have a protective canopy from this tagasaste tree once again, so that it won't succumb to frost. Just past this little plant, which gets lost in amongst all that mulch, is my rescue fig tree. Putting on plenty of growth already, no signs of any fruit happening. So jury's out whether it's a keeper or not, but it's looking happy here out on the swale for the moment. I call it my rescue fig because I found it in a pot just dumped at the side of the road, just not far from here, and it was quite small and very root bound and close to death then, but it's come back to life beautifully. I will give it a bit of a go, and if it doesn't produce fruit and I need the space, I might replace it, but for the moment it's growing well. Even if I chop it and use it for the biomass, at the moment that's a good use, but I'm still hopeful that it will start to produce fruit for me. Another area that I'm yet to mulch is around these two rhubarb plants. I'll chop some of this buttercup down and use the tagasaste that I've got lying around to mulch these plants and help identify them a bit better in amongst all this growth. But there's just starting to get a good amount of growth on these plants. Just up from my rhubarb and next to my rescue fig, I've got my heartleaf fig, which each year since I've had it in has produced really delicious, beautiful little figs. It's got signs of fruit coming already, so hopefully we'll get a good harvest of this come autumn. Having a closer look at this heartleaf fig, some of the leaves are actually a bit deformed and have got something going on. I'll have to do some investigations and see what's happening here, because that's not how it should be growing. They should all be lovely leaves like this one. So I'll investigate and let you know, or if you know what this could be, let me know down in the comments. The leaves are starting okay. This leaf seems fine, but these ones, yeah, not looking quite right. Just down from the heartleaf fig tree, a tree that has been challenged. It nearly fell over because half its roots were eaten and dug away by rats. But this year it's sort of bounced back to life and is looking absolutely beautiful. And that's my quince tree. It already has signs of fruit on it. And with lots of bees on it, I think we'll have a lot more. at the base, we've got some woolly vetch in flower, which is a nitrogen fixing legume. If you kill the plant off, it will release nitrogen to the soil, and of course all the plant material at the top just adds to the organic matter on the soil. Now just on this side of the berm, I've started planting some more of the support trees. So we've got just different plants that I was able to source at the local nursery. I'm not even sure what they are, but the flowers will be perfect for native pollinators and just adds to the diversity of the plantings. Now this little one looks like it's struggled a bit there, but it's got some new leaves coming on it now. Now another recent planting has been this little feijoa plant, also known as a pineapple guava. So it should have plenty of space from my quince tree, the almond tree and the fig tree. It should get plenty of sun here, and I think it will be very happy. I've done the usual compost layer, cardboard, and then a layer of wood chip over the top to hopefully give this plant a really good start. And I've added a few extra plants on this southeast side of the swale as well, just to bulk it up and give plenty of opportunity to harvest some mulch, and then we can move in some more productive plants into this space. And hiding under this canopy, I've just hidden another little indigo ferra, which should benefit from the shady protected location. Moving along from my new feijoa and new small plantings, I'm getting towards the end of the swale where I have a couple of almond trees. Now I have added them in only a year or two ago, so they're slowly starting to get some good growth on them. And then sneaking past this lovely wattle, this one here has finished flowering now. Heading past that is my second almond tree. So that's my roadside swale in spring. Plenty of work to do, as you can see, but I'm slowly getting in some more plantings, and it's always exciting to see some of the productive trees starting to produce. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.